Welcome into week 4 of the Frostburg Sports Awards. Logan Walsh, I'm back on, and shout out to Jacob Hawk last week for filling in. And today we're kicking off with Tom Mccoy, who's from track and field. He's a pole vaulter that just tied a school record in the meet this past weekend. Tom, I just want to thank you for coming on today, first off, and then second off, just want to get some of your thoughts on your performance.
Thank you for having me. This last meet was a great meet for me. Really well executed. I was a little concerned about at the beginning of the meet, just because I was not completing my jumps all the way through. But once I got that first side, it was all good from there.
Talking about that meet, and I mentioned tying the school record and the indoor record that's been held since 1985. Were you right away knowing that you had just tied that, or it took a little bit, maybe on the bus ride home or anything when you found out? And what was your reaction when you found out that you had tied that record?
At first, I thought it was going to be a broken school record, but I mean, from tying it is just as good for me. But in that meet, I didn't think I was going to actually get that record. I thought in that jump, I was like, it'd be nice if I got that record, But my coach told me that I tied the record right after. I was like, ooh, that's actually kind of nice. I like that. So.
Talking about your coach and Ballard Suter, who came in pretty late here, and a lot of coaching changes for the track and field team since the fall season. But Ballard has come in, and you've got some teammates, Mark Vaughns and Adam Smith, who both competed last year as well. How have each of them, both your teammates and your coach, been able to support you and coach you through these times of coming in as a freshman and being able to do these things?
Just by them being there, vaulting with them, they're great people. So. Just their them coaching me on the side. My coach Ballard Suter, he's doing a good job of coaching me on the side as well. So.
And in addition to the pole vault and some of these indoor events, you've also competed in the triple jump for a few of them. Is it a stark transition between the two of obviously both you get your run up and your steps, but it's obviously different forms that you have to take with the pole and then with the jumping. So how have you been able to manage competing in both of those events almost simultaneously at some meets?
Sometimes that I have a break in between, but for some meets they're right back to back, and really I just gotta find a way to rest my legs in between before I get going and triple jump again.
You talked about being surprised at your distance or the height of the pole vault this year, and you broke your personal record so far this year by a full 7 inches almost in that jump. And you talked about some jumps hadn't gone your way in the first part of the meet, but then to pull that jump off, what was it that kind of kicked off? Was it just you had that momentum and that belief in yourself?
I guess, well, I did move up partially on my pole, so I guess that did some of it, but really it was just about staying tight to the pole.
And you've gone through a number of meets this year, and now the big one comes up this weekend with the MEC Indoor Championships. What's your preparation going into this weekend, and how are you viewing it from a personal standpoint, but then also looking at some of your teammates and where they might finish in terms of their events and being able to watch them?
Mainly just doing what I always do, just kind of stay in a good mindset. Try not to expect too much from the meet. Obviously, you want to expect stuff, but you don't want to expect to do well in a meet. You always want to be surprised at the end, that honestly make things better.
Work things out, I guess, for this past weekend too with the school record. And then looking ahead into the outdoor season, it's obviously different conditions in terms of being indoor and then going to the outdoor, but the event itself doesn't really change a lot. I mean, you look at, some of the distances for the sprinters and the throwers where it's a little bit different, but for you guys, it's pretty similar, all things considered. But, what's going to be your preparation for gearing up into now the outdoor events where, you think people would be a little bit more free and open air and the muscles can relax a bit more?
I think mainly I just need to get used to the climate conditions. I wouldn't be used to that in indoor, obviously. So that's the only thing that I really would have to work on for outdoor season.
And then looking at the MEC as a whole, right now second in the conference for your event. Looking into what other pole vaulters are doing, you've obviously seen some of them at some of the meets and what they can do. How do you look at them in terms of yourself? Is it something like, hey, they're doing this their way and I can maybe modify my stuff? Or it's you're just looking at yourself mostly and being like, that's the competition and that's where I want to be? Or is it a little bit of a mixture of both?
I think that I look at them and say I want to end up being like them. I want to end up surpassing them. You know, because I always look towards the higher athletes. I always find an athlete who's better than me and work towards them.
All right, Tom. Well, thank you for coming on today to come and talk to us. Obviously, you've got classes and gearing up for a big meet this weekend, but we really appreciate you being here, and congratulations once again on tying that school record.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, well, next up, we'll have our female athlete of the week, and it's Abby Baker from acrobatics and tumbling, so be sure to stay tuned and go Bobcats. Back on the Frostburg Sports Awards with our female athlete of the week, Abby Baker from acrobatics and tumbling. A tough loss against a very good Fairmont State team this past weekend in their first meet. Abby, I just want to get some of your thoughts on your performance and the team's performance overall.
My performance was overall good. There was a few new skills that we put in this year, but they hit, so they were good. For the team, we had a few mistakes, so hopefully next meet we'll be able to fix those and come out with a win from Fairmont. But overall, I think we did a really good job.
I wanted to take a couple weeks back here and speaking about the preseason, and you guys were actually ranked for the first time by the NCATA number 15 in the country, and I remember your head coach Katie Nunley, her reaction when she came in the office. She was jumping and screaming and all happy. When she told you guys, or when you guys found out about it, what was your personal reaction, and how did the team feel about having that recognition in just the second full year of having the sport?
I was super excited. I think we've worked hard, so we deserve that spot. The team was also really excited, and we just want to go up from there.
Talking about Fairmont State and having fans, which we couldn't have last year with being an indoor event and obviously the spike of COVID, but obviously a road match, but being able to have fans in there, and it just creates a different atmosphere. How was that for you guys to be able to have the fans cheering, not just you guys, but everyone on in that meet?
The fans are a great support system. It's all our families, and it's a new sport for like all of us. So it's really nice and motivating for them to be there.
Getting into the actual meet, and you mentioned some of the mistakes and starting off in the compulsory, the first heat didn't exactly go as planned with the starting value and only getting a 6.9, but then you guys recovered to get back-to-back nines in that event and then, come away pretty close with Fairmont. What was the mentality of that first event not going how you had planned and then coming back to rectify it for the next two heats?
We did a really good job coming back after that because we know how to reset and start over. But we just she did a good job going back and fixing what she did do. But we just reset and just started from there.
Getting into then the pyramids, which was really your guys' specialty in that meet. 3 straight high nines for you guys, and it's very much, literally and figuratively a team building event. So what was it that made the success in the pyramid for you guys?
The success, we have really good communication, so if anything's going wrong, we all are talking. It really helps. We're just talk to each other, tell each other what's going on. It just really helps, yeah.
For you guys, and for some people that may have never seen acrobatics and tumbling, which would imagine is a lot of people, but for some of the events, you have sort of a lead, talker on the side who's not really competing in the event, but they're there as the communicator and being able to help you guys, and also the coach on the sideline being able to shout, where it's new to a lot of people, but how does that affect you guys?
Well, we have a counter, which is she counts and does counts the event, so we are on time. But on the side, people are cheering, and it's just motivating to hear other people on the sideline.
For you personally as well, going back into the event, talking about the tumbling and your second time through the tumbling heat, another very high score. Going through it and looking at the tumbling, it's very much individualistic besides some of the synchronized stuff. But when you're out there on the mat alone and all eyes are on you, does it put pressure on you compared to the team, some of the more team building like the pyramid where it's a whole group, but for you individually, is that any different?
I honestly think it's easier because I only have to worry about myself, but I really am just thinking about doing it for the team.
And speaking of the team event at the end, going back to last year with the new team was a pretty small roster, all things considered. You weren't able to do the team event for the first couple of meets, and then you guys were able to get back into it. You've now had a full off season to prepare with the team event. How helpful has that been, and how key is it to be able to work that much and be able to pull off a successful team event in the first meet?
It's pretty nice. We actually have a team routine throughout the entire season, so it's getting our start value a lot higher. We're able to compete with the bigger teams. It's just motivating to know that we can compete the entire meet.
Competing with these teams, and again, looking at Fairmont, who's the number 8 team in the country, and the leaders last year in the MEC, and last year in the MEC tournament was a 15-point loss to them, and was sort of just talking with your head coach Katie, and was sort of just, we're happy to be there, we're happy to compete and see what the top level is. And now you only lose by 5 points, which is a couple events here and there. How does that show for the team's growth for this year of how far you guys have come in just really under a year?
It shows that we've been working really hard in the preseason. We put in a lot of work and just worked really hard. We all want to win, so that's a big motivation to it. Definitely want to come out number 1 this year, or at least 2, get higher in the rankings. But we've just worked really hard, so hopefully it shows off.
All right, Abby. Well, thank you for coming on today to talk to us. You've got your classes and practices always coming through, but really appreciate being here. Congratulations on your performance this past week.
Thank you.
All right, well, next up we'll have Taylor Sindahl, who's our Coach of the Week. She'll give a season preview of her women's lacrosse team, so be sure to stay tuned. Wrapping up this week of the Frostburg Sports Awards, and we're here with Taylor Sindahl, who's women's lacrosse head coach. She's going to give us a little bit of a season preview for her team. Coach, just want to get some of your early thoughts on this team so far and what you've seen in some of your early practices.
I think this team has a ton of potential. We are leaps and bounds ahead of where we were last year, and I think that comes from a super solid group of returners, along with 13 freshmen coming in and being really talented, but also pushing those returners to be even better. I think, our biggest opponent this year is going to be us. If we can rise to what I think our potential is and push ourselves every day, we're going to be unstoppable.
You talked about being ahead of where you were last year, and last year, considering the circumstances, you coming in your first year as the head coach, COVID is going on and teams aren't allowed to practice as much as they would be, and reschedulings here and there, but you've now had a full year to work with a majority of this group. You've had a full off season to be able to get your fall practices in, some fall games, and have a full off season in the winter as well. How beneficial has all of that been into contributing this team and being more prepared per se than last year perhaps?
It's been great. I think having a fall where we can compete against other teams has been really important. We opened up with 2 Division I teams, and it was a tough go, but I think we showed that when we play our brand of lacrosse and play to the level that we're capable of, we can hang with those D1 teams, and our goal is to play the best so that we can be the best. So we got everyone some quality looks this fall, and then we scrimmaged last weekend, I guess, against Bucknell. And, we didn't play the way I wanted us to, but I think we got a lot of those jitters out, and now I think we'll be ready to roll. We open up tomorrow. So I think, having all of that time has really helped us develop the girls and give them a chance to see some other opponents and see, where we fall and what we need to work on.
Talking about those opening games, and 2 ranked teams you're going to play against, Davenport, number 25 in the country, and then University of Indianapolis, number 2 in the country, a team that is very well respected. And is it going to be sort of a litmus test for you guys, or is it more of a let's just see where we are compared to these other teams in terms of looking ahead and should be the 2 toughest games on the schedule this year, but in looking at your own team and where you're standing?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both, obviously seeing how we stack up against 2 ranked opponents, but at the same time, again, if we play the way we're capable of, I think we're pretty much on the same level as Davenport as far as physicality and athleticism. Hopefully, we have a little bit better schemes and plays and stuff, so I think, while that's going to be a test, I think that's a very winnable game, and we're going into it hoping to win. And then UIndy, I mean, it's going to be a tough game for sure. And I think it can go one of two ways. If we play the way I think we can play, you know, we could squeak out with a win or even have it be like 3 to 5 goal game. But if we don't rise to the occasion, then we're really not going to be happy with the result. But either way, you know, playing these tough teams in the beginning is really going to show us what we're made of, and hopefully set us up for success for the rest of the season. Because if we can beat or compete with these two teams, we can beat and compete with anybody.
Talking about the two tough teams in the beginning, but the schedule overall is pretty tough for the first part of the year, and only one home game between now and April 7th. So, you know, you guys are going to be battle tested essentially on the road, and, you know, only that one home game on March 21st. But other than that, you're going to have to go into other teams' territory. They're going to have all their home fans back in their stands and being able to support them. So, you know, it'll be a good test for you guys to have all of those road games and travel that much before the MEC play starts.
Yeah, and I think we're excited for that. I mean, last year, especially with COVID, we weren't able to do any overnight trips except for the conference championships. So that's where our team, I feel like, really bonds, is when we're in the hotel, we're on the bus. So I think that'll be exciting for us, but we also have no problem going to another team's territory and, you know, giving them a beat down. I mean, last year we went to Notre Dame and beat them by 11. So, you know, maybe we're better on the road, who knows, but my hope is that, you know, we're consistent whether we're home or away.
Getting into the specifics of the team now, and a big strength from last year was the attack, and you returned 7 of your top 8 scorers, and Steph King and Anna Kearney, Cami Schneidwin, Lily Stevens, and that's just, you know, to name a few. And obviously there's a lot of depth behind them, freshmen coming in as well. But in that area of the field, it's, you know, with the leadership that's there, and you had juniors and Steph, who's a super senior this year, having that leadership, and you pretty much know what you're going to get out of that unit on any game day. It's
been phenomenal, and I think we're really holding them to a higher standard, and so we're pushing them so that they don't think that they can just do what they did last year and it be okay. I think also on the offensive end in the midfield, you're going to see a lot of new faces, whether it's freshmen or players who were injured last year. So we're really excited to kind of bring out some of those secret weapons, and we have an awesome group of attackers where, you know, if one of those 4 that you mentioned isn't having a good game, we have some freshmen, sophomores, another senior who can step in and really, you know, take their spot and not miss a beat. And then getting into the midfield, sort of the energy units of the team. Lindsay Coleman, another one of the super seniors that's going to be there, and you know what you're going to get out of her any given week. Shelby Brunette and Mara O'Neill, 2 others that come to mind that, you know, they can play offense and they can go up with the attack, or they can shift back into defense and provide some cover there as well. But, you know, those 3, and again, bringing in freshmen and some players from last year, that it's just an energy unit that they can run all game, and they just give an energy. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, last year we didn't have a ton of middies. So I think, you know, we weren't able to produce as much as we would like to once those middies started getting tired. But you're going to see Cameron Baldwin. She didn't play for us last year. Jordan Kenny was injured last year as well. And they're both coming back full strength. And I really expect them to come in and make an impact. We've got a great freshman in Carrie Hayes. She's played like an upperclassman since she got here. Julia Battalato is doing great. She's also a freshman. Chrissy Milburn, Megan Keller, like all freshmen who, for Frostburg, people don't know their names yet, but by the end of the season, they definitely are going to. And I think having that depth in the midfield is really going to take our game to the next level. Then the defense for you guys, and Mackenzie Kramer, Emily Chick, Emma Neff, all the 3 stalwarts, really, you call them, from last year, that all return and in front protecting the net, and 3 senior players that you all have been here for a while, but they've been through coaching changes, and then you came in last year and kind of got them into your style of play, and now they've had another full offseason in front of you to be able to get more coaching as well. And we actually are bringing back Chloe Johnson this year, who didn't play last year. She's a great addition to that unit as well. And we have some awesome freshmen and upperclassmen. Ayana McDonald, she's a junior for us this year. She's really stepped up. Delaney Devers, she came in and again, like Carrie Hayes, came in and was playing like an upperclassman. And our upperclassmen have really, you know, rallied around that and taken her under their wing, and they've given her nicknames and all that fun stuff. So I think, you know, across the board, we have a lot of great leadership in every category, but we also have some awesome underclassmen who are really coming into their own and are gonna, definitely see some playing time and make a difference as well.
Now the youngest unit on the squad in the goalkeeper position, and 2 sophomores now, Whitney Crosby and McKenna Shea, who really split time last year, and it was just a matter of who was playing well on their day and could put one in with the confidence of the other one the same. And now you've brought in another couple of freshmen to add competition there, and it's a very young unit, but there's still some leadership in there, and just a unit that can be so productive on game days and be able to help this team win just as much as every other position we talked about.
Yeah, and I think the awesome part about all of our goalies is they all bring something different to the table. McKenna is a great communicator, and she's super active. She's going to pick off passes. She's going to go for interceptions. Whitney, she is just solid. She's a very fundamental goalie, and she does a great job. Nicole Gray, coming in as a freshman, she's a ball stopper. I mean, she's stuffing our girls at practice. Cami Schneidwin is one of our best attackers, and she gets stuffed every day by Nicole. And she has really come into her own and taken over a little bit of leadership role herself. She doesn't play like a freshman. And then we've got Gracie Dickey, who she's a gamer. She might not be the most intense player in practice, but you put her in a game. We put her in one of the halves this fall, and she didn't let a single goal in. So I think that's the awesome thing about that unit is, if one of them is having a bad day, we have 3 other ones that are going to step up and make the plays. So I think there's a lot of competition in that spot, but at the same time, we have a lot of different looks, and we know that, again, if someone's not, hitting the mark, we've got 3 other people that we can rotate in and figure out, who's going to make the stop.
Getting into the MEC now, and talked a little bit about it earlier with Notre Dame, and in the regular season last year split at each other's places, which each team getting a win, and then Notre Dame kind of taking the cup in the championship game at their own home field. Going into the MEC poll, tied for first place, we were picked with Notre Dame after being picked to sole first place the past 2 years, and that sort of formed into a little bit of a rivalry with your 2 squads in terms of 2 of the best teams in the conference and having close games and just the feistiness there. But, also in behind them, Davis and Elkins and Charleston, a couple of talented teams as well. But looking at that preseason poll, is that sort of a motivation for you guys of, well, we were picked, first place sole the last 2 years, and now Notre Dame is up there with us. Is that now a source of motivation for you guys?
Absolutely. I wish we would have been picked second. I think, last year we were confident, and we should have been, but, I think we peaked at the wrong time, to be honest, and going into that championship game, we just weren't ready. A lot of these girls, the upperclassmen, had never played in a conference championship game. The freshmen and the sophomores lost a year because of COVID. So I just think we weren't mentally ready. And now, the mindset has changed. Last year it was winning is fun, and now this year it's winning is the expectation. And every day someone mentions Notre Dame and how we're gunning for them. And we're not just focusing on them, but I think, having that motivation of like, this team thinks that they're better than us, and, we have to prove that we really are the best. So we're definitely motivated. We're definitely hungry, but, we're not overlooking anyone in the conference. I mean, we lost to Charleston last year, so we played them this fall in a tight game, so we're really trying to do everything that we can, and rise to the occasion. But again, I'm hoping this weekend kind of shows us what we're made of, and we can feel good as we go through the rest of the season and into conference play.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you for coming on today to talk about your team. We're very excited for you for this season, and want to wish you the best of luck this upcoming weekend as well with your first couple of games. We'll be excited for your first home game as well, March 21st.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. We're excited too, and hopefully we can represent our program and the school well and have another winning season and bring a conference championship back to Frostburg.
Certainly hoping for that. So that wraps up the Frostburg Sports Awards for this week. Next week we should be back to our regular schedule with full episodes coming out on Tuesday from here on out. So thank you for watching, and as always, go Bobcats.